Hi guys, how are you all doing? This is the tennis world with the tennis expert. I am your tennis expert. Again, this is the tennis world with the tennis expert. I'm your tennis expert. Australian Open Final Preview 2026. Here we go. First, we just take a very quick look at the semi-finals. First time we had two five-setters in the semi-finals since Wimbledon 2018. First time top four seeds make semi-finals since 2013 in the Australian Open, where the top four seeds all made the semi-finals. And then it delivered these semi-finals, really. But I feel like Alcaraz was better than Zverev until the cramps. He's beat everybody on straight sets. He was 2-0 and 4-all. He had breakpoint opportunities early in the third set, and he was winning his points off his serve, off the 1-2 punch. On his second serve, he could just out-rally Zverev. And then when Zverev missed his first serve on second serve points, he was out-rallying Zverev. He had speed. He could turn defense into offense and all of that. But then when he lost his speed, then it just become an offensive contest solely. He was either Zverev's speed or worse after the cramps. And then it just comes down to who's got a bigger serve and who's got power in the first strike tennis solely. And that was Zverev. And if anything, Zverev might have more speed too now. But then the speed of Alcaraz in the fifth set got a bit better to maybe an equal level at best. But Alcaraz just kept persisting through the cramps and eventually got to the point where Zverev was tired and he couldn't even move. And now Alcaraz was even in a better physical shape than Zverev, and then he outlasted him at the end. But he couldn't play the tennis. He couldn't play his game. He couldn't have defense. At the best, he could get equal defense to Zverev and then make it an offensive contest and lose because Zverev's got a bigger serve. But still, because Alcaraz does have a lot of offense with the forehand, with drop shots, things like that, but then couldn't even do the great shots on the run either because of the cramps, just when you're hitting it to him. So that's losing a lot in his game. And then the return of serve, the movement to even get in position, the forehand had lost power and the serve as well as the defensive part. So very difficult, but he found a way, like when Zverev was hitting the ball to him, to still have the offense to make it even for a while. And then, as I said, Zverev finally gets exhausted and Alcaraz maybe 20% loss of capacity by the end is good enough to beat Zverev because maybe Zverev went down to 30 or 40% by the very end and then Alcaraz outlasted him. Alcaraz is amazing under pressure. He finds a way to win big matches. He's 6-1 in Grand Slam finals. He finds a way in fifth sets, and he finds a way when he's down 2-0 against Sinner at the French, 2-1 down against Sinner the previous year. The Wimbledon final 2023, fifth set against Djokovic. Even Djokovic, the best under pressure, he was better than him there in that fifth set. He finds a way. And that leads me to the second one. The second one, Djokovic was playing his best for his age, maybe the best we've seen in a long time. But despite that, Sinner was still better than him, 2-1. But then we have a problem when Djokovic is able to match Sinner's level and reach that Sinner-Alcaraz level. And now it comes a long, tough battle and a close match, and who's better at the bigger points at the end. And just like when Alcaraz matches Zverev's level, and it becomes a long match, and it becomes who's better in the bigger points in the end, all those matches Alcaraz wins. Like the French Open 2024, he came from 2-1 against Alcaraz against Sinner and won it in the fourth and fifth. This year, the French, he was down 2-0 and he came back and won it. There was a match in Beijing at the end of 2024, final set tiebreaker. 2022, US Open, fifth set. Again, Alcaraz beats him. So that's what happens. These two meet a very close level, Alcaraz and Sinner. It comes down to the big moments, and who's better at the end is always Alcaraz. Now, Djokovic did the same thing to him that Alcaraz did. He matched the Sinner-Alcaraz match. He made it a close match, and he made it about who's better in the big moments in the end. And just like when Sinner's in that position with Alcaraz, he loses because Alcaraz is better than Sinner in those big moments in the end. The same thing happened with Djokovic. Djokovic, like Alcaraz, is great in the big moments in the end. And Sinner is now facing the exact same situation with Alcaraz. It's a close match. Somebody's playing him on his level, and it's coming down to who's better in the big moments at the end. When it's Alcaraz, and when it's Djokovic, Djokovic is able to step up like Alcaraz, and he loses again. It just simply came down to that. Excuse me. It just simply came down to that. How Alcaraz matches Sinner, they have close matches. It's who's better in the bigger moments at the end. Alcaraz does better than Sinner, and Alcaraz wins in the big moments and beats Sinner. Djokovic is the same like Alcaraz, great under big moments. So he reached Sinner's level. It was a match like the Alcaraz-Sinner, a long match. Who's better at the end? Who's better in the big moments? And just like he loses in the big moments at the end versus Alcaraz in their close matches, the same thing happened with Djokovic. Djokovic matched his level. He made it like the Alcaraz-Sinner matches. He made it a close match. Who's better in the bigger moments in the end? And just like Alcaraz beat Sinner in those big moments, Djokovic also beats Sinner in those big moments because Djokovic is just as good as Alcaraz in those big moments. So that's basically what it comes down to. Sinner's losing all the close matches against Alcaraz when he and Alcaraz are at the same level. And now Djokovic matched his level, and it came down to the big moments again, like it does in those matches with Alcaraz. And just like Alcaraz beats Sinner by being better in those big moments at the end, Djokovic beats Sinner by being better in those big moments at the end. I did see where Sinner, whenever he moved Djokovic and exposed that he's older and he's getting tired and his movement slower and he's bending down, Djokovic will lose the point and the next point make an unforced error. But most of the time, Sinner just was affected by the pressure. He either hit it right to Djokovic and then Djokovic controlled the point, or when he tried to attack, he went for the lines and missed. It wasn't taking control of the point with power and patience and moving Djokovic around until you get past him. It wasn't that. It was either straight to him or out. Either way, Djokovic conserves energy. He's hitting the ball on the spot or just waiting for the ball to miss. But yeah, it was just, like I said, the Sinner-Alcaraz matches, when they're both playing their best, they're on the same level. It's a close match. It's who's better in the big moments. It's always Alcaraz. This time, Djokovic found that Alcaraz-Sinner level. It was a close match. It was who was better on the big moments. And just like Alcaraz wins those close matches against Sinner because he's better than Sinner in the big moments, Djokovic also is better than Sinner in the big moments. So he matched Sinner's level. It just became who's better in the bigger moments, and that was Djokovic. Sinner even won more points. I felt like the first three sets, it was a great match on both sides of the court. They were both playing well, but Djokovic's best level wasn't enough because Sinner's best level is better than Djokovic's best level. But like I said, once it became the fourth and fifth sets, that's when Alcaraz and Sinner are battling, and who's better in the big moments. And Alcaraz is always better than Sinner in those big moments and takes the winning. The same thing happened here. Djokovic made it close. He made it about who's better in the big moments. And just like Alcaraz beat Sinner in the big moments, so did Djokovic. Not about tennis, because Sinner won more points, about who's better in the big moments. And Sinner loses in those big moments when someone's on his level, pushing him to the limit against Alcaraz. And the same thing. He had Djokovic who steps up in the big moments the same way Alcaraz did. Djokovic is matching his level the same way Alcaraz does. And Djokovic won because he was better in these big moments than Sinner was, just like Alcaraz does to Sinner too. So that's simply what it was. So now we have to move to the final, guys. 2026 Australian Open final. Like, the way I look at it is this. Until the cramps happened, Alcaraz was on track to make the final without losing a set. He's destroyed everybody. He's looking great. He destroyed De Minaur in the quarterfinals. He destroyed Tommy Paul, who was playing well. He was on track to take out the number 3 in straight sets. Very high level. And he's been the highest level, even better than Sinner before this match. He's been the best player in this tournament, right? Now, for Djokovic to come up against that after physically going over 4 hours against Sinner, but doing it to Alcaraz, who's now playing even better. And one of the reasons why Djokovic was so good is because he was fresh. He had all these players pulled out. He could give all his energy, but now he's not coming in fresh. He's coming off a 4-hour match the previous match. And like I said, Alcaraz was better than Sinner, was the best player in the tournament, so it would be even harder. And then the other thing, if Djokovic just says, I'm going to match him and I'm going to be better in the big moments than Sinner, like he did in the previous matches, if he makes it about who's better in the big moments, Alcaraz is also better than Sinner in the big moments, like Djokovic is. So you've got the two best guys in big moments. Their first match was in Madrid before Alcaraz had won a Grand Slam. And Alcaraz won a fifth set tiebreaker against Djokovic by being better than the big moments. He even was down 5-3 with cramps. He's been down 2-0 in match points at the French Open to Sinner. He's able to turn it on when it matters the most in the same way Djokovic has. Djokovic has that. Alcaraz has that. Excuse me. But Sinner doesn't. And then Wimbledon final, fifth set. Firstly, Wimbledon's the oldest Grand Slam, the one the players want to win more. Then playing Djokovic with the most Grand Slams, and then a fifth set. Alcaraz turned it on that day and hit 17 winners and 2 errors in that fifth set, and stepped up even more than Djokovic when it matters the most. But then Djokovic also did it in the Cincinnati 7-6 tiebreaker. He was better than Alcaraz in the big moments. And in the Olympics, it was 2 tiebreakers. Djokovic was better. Djokovic wins most of his fifth set matches, so does Alcaraz. Djokovic steps up in Grand Slam finals. Alcaraz is 6-1. These are the best two under the big moments. But when it's Alcaraz-Sinner, it's Alcaraz amazing in big moments, Sinner not so great. But when it's Djokovic-Sinner, Djokovic is great in the big moments, Sinner not so great. But Alcaraz against, these are the best big moments, and they're just going to step up both sides of the court. So when that's not an advantage for Djokovic anymore, then in the Sinner match, it's like Sinner has more endurance and he's younger, but Djokovic has more experience in the mental side and better under the big moments. But against Alcaraz, it's going to be Alcaraz has more endurance and fitness and energy because he's younger. Right, guys? But also under the big moments, it's now not an advantage. They're equal. So pressure in the mental side of the game in the big moments, it's equal. But physical and endurance and outlasting the other guy, it's advantage Alcaraz. Then when you look at some other things, because Djokovic's speed has slowed down, he likes long rallies. Defense has been a big part of his game. The fact of the matter is right now, Alcaraz is faster than Djokovic. That's a fact. So better defensively. So now Djokovic has to win with his offense. The problem is Alcaraz has massive power on the forehand, right? The backhand is almost equal to Djokovic, so Alcaraz can overpower him too. But then the other part of offense is not just brute force; it's touch shots like drop shots and volleys. Alcaraz is better in those drop shots, better in volleys, and has more power, better offensively and better defensively because this fact is he's faster. And then if they're close, he has more endurance than Djokovic. And then, like I said, Djokovic can't say like the Sinner match, you've got more endurance and you're younger than me. But the one thing I have that you don't is experience, which means I'm going to be better mentally. So those two will level off. No, now it's two guys great mentally, great under pressure, great in the big moments, right? And equal in that. But then when it comes to endurance, Alcaraz has an advantage. So it's not like Djokovic better mentally, the other guy better physically. It's like mentally they're equal, big moments they're equal, but endurance and physically it's Alcaraz, right? And like I said, Alcaraz has more power, drop shots, can step up in the big moments, is younger, can outlast him, and he's faster. And he doesn't have the same, he can't say, I'm coming in on a full tank because I'm fresh because I've hardly played. No, he's coming off a big match. So, yes, they're both coming off a tough match. 5.5 hours for Alcaraz or 4 hours for Djokovic. But which is easy to recover from a 5.5 hour match if you're 22 or a 4 hour match if you're 38? And remember, Alcaraz's match finished earlier, so he has more time to recover from his long, tough match than Djokovic does. And he's a better chance to recover way because he's younger. So I would rather come off a 5.5 hour match at 22 than a 4 hour match at 38. And then for Djokovic to do what he did against Sinner anyway, which he was being outplayed and he was down 2-1. And if Sinner was great under pressure, he would have lost, right? But to even produce that again will be very hard. But even if he does, like I said, but like I said, right? Alcaraz is just as good as him under pressure. So he was down 2-1 when it's just about tennis. He was relying on being better under pressure. Do you understand what I'm saying, guys? So he was relying on that. But now he doesn't have that. So now if it's just about tennis, he would be down 2-1 against Alcaraz, let's say. But if anything, it'll be even worse than that because Alcaraz is playing better than Sinner. And then you can't just say, I'll come back and I'll step up in the big moments because Alcaraz will also do that. But Alcaraz will do that with more endurance and energy and the ability to outlast him, but mentally be stepping up the same way Djokovic does. And like I said, he was a couple of games away from getting through to the final without losing one single set, so playing at a better level. So even if Djokovic does what he does last time, he's being outplayed and down 2-1, like what happened with Sinner, right? That's the best case, but we don't know if Djokovic has the energy to do that. But just say he does. Now he's down 2-1, or maybe straight sets because Alcaraz is better. Number two, he's less likely to have energy in the fourth or fifth sets. And even if he does, Alcaraz will have more energy. And he can't just say, you've got more energy than me, but I'm better mentally because I'm better in the big moments. Because he's not better in the big moments. He's better than Sinner in the big moments, but not better than Alcaraz. So if they're both stepping it up, but one has more energy, and just say Alcaraz is up 2-1, how is Djokovic going to do it? How's he going to say, you're no better than me mentally? I'm down 2-1, but you've got more energy than me. It doesn't seem to make sense. For will to win, they're both desperate. Alcaraz said, I would rather this than winning all the other 3 Grand Slams. Djokovic probably will never get a chance again. Djokovic will probably never get a chance again. Djokovic will probably never get a chance again, guys. So that's just it. So what I'm saying is, though, I think Djokovic is still playing well. He'll still get a set, but they'll both be stepping up. Alcaraz will do it a bit with more energy than Djokovic, and he'll be stepping up in the big moments, but doing it with more energy than Djokovic and playing still overall an even better level than the Sinner that got Djokovic down 2-1. But just because Djokovic is still playing well and wants it badly, he'll get a set. But in the end, Alcaraz has more power, especially with the forehand, better touch shots, drop shots, volleys, faster and better at defense. And he can match Djokovic on the big moments, but do it with more energy and more able to recover from a long, tough semifinal because he's younger. But Djokovic will still push him, but they're going to be playing on an elite level at both sides of the net. But once it gets longer, Alcaraz will continue that and will continue stepping up in the big moments. But Djokovic's energy level will drop and will not be able to match Djokovic when both are stepping up in the big moments. Both are great under pressure, but Alcaraz can continue it for hours and Djokovic can't. And that'll be the end. And then the fact that Alcaraz is playing even better than Sinner. So I just think both of them stepping up, but one of them doing it with more energy. And like I said, Alcaraz also being faster, better defensively, more power, better touch shots. For a while, it's going to be close, but then in the end, Djokovic will not be able to sustain the level. Alcaraz will. And when Djokovic tries to step it up, Alcaraz will also step it up. But do it with more energy, do it with more power, do it with more touch shots, and do it with faster speed and defense, and to be able to keep that speed and defense for hours if necessary, whereas Djokovic not being able to. So that's what I'm seeing. Better offense, better defense, more endurance, and then the one thing Djokovic feels like he has better in the big moments, Alcaraz also stepping it up equal but with more energy. But it'd still be a good match, but Alcaraz just a bit too good for Djokovic, a bit too much energy, just as good mentally, and being able to keep that 10 out of 10 for hours and always constantly step it up with Djokovic in the big moments. Djokovic will not be able to handle someone stepping up the same way as him with more energy and who's faster than him while they're both stepping it up at their 10 out of 10 level and more power and better at the drop shots and volleys. Djokovic will not be able to handle that, but we'll be able to push him and make it a great match because they'll both be playing great and win a set. But in the end, Alcaraz in 4, and Carlos Alcaraz is going to complete the career Grand Slam, and he's going to be your Australian Open champion. That's my video for today. Subscribe, bell notification, thumbs up. Have a great day, night, wherever you are in the world. I'll be back in a few days to review the final, so please come back with me, guys, okay? Please come back. Please subscribe. Also, look out during the match. I'm going to try to do a vlog or a video. I'll be at the final. So if during the final, check out your YouTube and look for a live video from me, just showing me there at the match. And then also come back in a few days from now, after the final, when I'll review that final. But now I'm saying Alcaraz over Djokovic in 4, and Carlos Alcaraz will be your Australian Open 2026 champion. He will complete the career Grand Slam with this 4 sets win over Novak Djokovic. Subscribe, guys. Look out during the final for a live video at me at the match, and look out in a few days for my review of the final. Subscribe, and thanks for being with me. Have a great day and enjoy the match. Thanks for being with me, guys. Subscribe and be back for my next video, maybe during the match or a review after the final. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.